All right, so very good evening to all of you fellow Ghanaians, and thank you so much for joining us here on the JoyNews channel. It's time for Upfront. So on Monday, we premiered Crushed, the latest JoyNews documentary on road accidents. We discussed how road accidents has killed 771 Ghanaians from January 2021 to March 2021. In 3 months, 771 Ghanaians had died as a result of road accidents. For many of you, you were shocked when you saw footages of these accidents, and one would have expected that it wouldn't happen again. Unfortunately, this morning, as you can see on your screens, this trotro ran into a truck parked on the road. In fact, we're told this truck was parked since yesterday in the afternoon, not so far away from the police station at Tessem. So we ask that important question: how do we ensure that we deal with this menace once and for all? Because if you look at the figures, for instance, in 2020, now 595 persons died from January to March, and one would have expected that there will be at least improvement in this number, and so you're expecting a reduction. But what do we see? 771 persons have died. Now, almost 200 more people have died as a result of road accident in 2021 alone. We do not even want to see one person die, let alone 200 people dying as a result. Now, before we get into a major conversation for today, because today we'll be finding out how do we deal with this menace once and for all, and what could be the cause of all of this. Just look at the statistics right from 2015. And these are figures provided by the Ghana Police Service. Now, in 2015, 1,802 persons died through road accidents, and the number increases to 2,284. By 2017, well, we thought we were doing well because we saw a reduction from the 2,284 to 1,823. And then in 2018, we see an increase to 2020, and that continues to 2,284, and then in 2020, 2,589. Now, if you look at how we're going, where in the first quarter, we have seen 771 people dying. If that was to be used for any projections, you're expecting close to 3,000 people losing their lives through road accidents in 2021. We're talking about 3,000 Ghanaians, close to 3,000 Ghanaians losing their lives as a result of road accidents. We're projecting, if we consider the trend from 2021 first quarter, as you can see here. So what do we do in all of this? Well, the National Road Safety Commission then had always complained about how its role was just advisory, coming out with programs without the power to bite. All of that changed in 2019, following the passage of a new law, making it an authority. What has changed since it became an authority? What are they doing to deal with one major cause of road accidents, which many of you have complained about: the attitude of the Ghanaian? Yes, we could talk about all the problems on our road, the fact that the roads are dark, but how about the Ghanaian's attitude? How about that man who decides to park a truck since yesterday without taking steps to get the truck off the road? How about that man who decides to speed when in town and is expected to be driving at 50 kilometers per hour? How about that man on the highway where he's expected to drive at 80 kilometers per hour, but then decides to show you that his car is working and thus drives over 100 kilometers per hour? This evening, our focus is on dealing with our attitudes. Our focus is on ensuring that the National Road Safety Authority comes out with measures. In fact, per its mandate, it is expected to have a long-term plan in dealing with road accidents. what is that long-term plan? What are those collaborations is engaged in with other institutions to ensure that we do not have a situation where in 3 months, 771 people lose their lives. My name is Winston Amor, and thank you very much for joining us here on Upfront on the JoyNews channel. You can join the conversation. You can join us on Twitter, tweet at JoyNews on TV, and tell us what your thoughts are. You can also join us on Facebook and tell us what your thoughts are about dealing with road accidents once and for all. When we return, I introduce my guest, and then we start our discussions. We'll be right back. All right, so welcome back, and thank you very, very much for staying with us here on Upfront on the JoyNews channel. And talking about things that have happened today, we also do know that a student, a level 100 student of the University of Cape Coast, has lost her life as a result of an accident. We're also aware that 2 persons died in the accident at Penkwa, just here, close to the Tesano police station. And that's how, these issues have become very critical. And this evening, we believe it's very important we get solutions to it. And we're very privileged to be joined by the Director General of the National Road Safety Authority. Now, the National Road Safety Authority is expected to, establish procedures for road safety audit of projects for roads construction, and it may also come up with programs in dealing with, road crashes. And this evening, we want to understand what programs they're coming up with, what are they doing in educating many of these drivers who sometimes are very reckless on our roads. Engineer May Obrieboa is the Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, and she's joined us via Zoom. Thank you very much for joining us, Engineer Obrieboa. I believe you're doing very well this evening.
Yes, I am. And good evening.
Great. Well,
to all your viewers too.
Sure. The evening may not be good for some people because of the situation that we're faced with. Now, just 2 days ago at the Shippers Authority Hall, we premiered Crushed. And the promotion of that particular documentary got a lot of people scared. And for many people, this was to change their way of driving and their usage of our roads. 2 days away, we're faced with similar situations as we saw around Tesano. What will be your reaction to the accidents we've seen happening today, one happening at Tesano, another in Cape Coast, and another at Alipe on the Tamale-Buipe Road, which claimed the lives of 11 persons? Engineer Obrieboa.
Thank you. For me, road traffic crashes over the period of is something that of immense trouble authority, and like you said in your intro, the authority, it was originally a commission and then became an authority with the hope that we could help stem the tide to reduce road traffic crashes and accidents or crashes and injuries and deaths on our roads. Hearing these people, even if it's one, sometimes it's something that we tell ourselves it's one too much. Because one human being, if you are supposed to cost the life of one person, I don't think as a nation will be able to So today, hearing 11 or so people dying, even though we hear it almost every day that we hear it's something that really worries us. One, because as an institution, by our mandate, we are supposed to help with the sensitization, advocacy, training, education of all road users, so that we do not experience what we have seen just about 24 hours ago. That is ongoing, and that is to say that, yes, it is not only education, training, or sensitization that also has to be done. It is multi-sectorial, and therefore, we need to treat or make sure that this road traffic crashes that we are seeing, we're able to cure it holistically And therefore, it's not just the 1E, but we have to look at the other 3 E's. So that goes to engineering, enforcement, and emergency services, and probably even 5, because we talk about the environment. So it is multidisciplinary, and we need to work on all of them. Otherwise, we may do what we call the education, probably very well, but if we do not enforce the law, and as human beings, as we know, if laws are not enforced, even though the person knows what he or she is doing is wrong, once he knows he will not be punished, he will still want to be comfortable and do what he likes. We need to put all these together, the 5 or 4 E's together, to ensure that our roads are safe.
Great. Now, you talk about the plan that you have, and in looking at your mandate, now you're expected to develop a long-term road safety plan. Could you help us understand what that long-term road safety plan is?
So the UN said that all countries should ensure that between the year 2021 to 2030, we have plans to help reduce road traffic crashes in our countries. That is a decade. We had one from 2011 to 2020, and should I say, almost the whole world met in February last year to try and evaluate ourselves to see how we fared. And I must say, apart from 1 or 2 countries, like those European countries, all other countries could not go by what the UN said, that by the year 2020, we should have halved the number of crashes and also reduced, we should have halved the number of deaths in our various countries. We could not achieve it. So the UN has reiterated that the new decade, that is 2020 to 2030, we are supposed to ensure that we still reduce our deaths and injuries by half. That is 50%. So that is the long-term plan that we are supposed to have. In Ghana, we are coming out with a strategy. It's ongoing. There's a consultant working on it. And then we'll slice it up 2 years, every 2 years plan. So we'll have 5 2-year plans for the 10 years. So that will be the long-term plan, the 10 years. I'll slash it down 2 years, each 2 years, what each of us want, the stakeholders want to do. So each stakeholder, the major, I'll call ourselves the major stakeholders. That is ourselves, NRSA, the DVLA, the 3 road agencies, that is Ghana Highway Authority, the Department of Urban Roads and Feeder Roads. We have those. We have the police service, that's the MTTD. We have the Ghana Fire Service, and also those Ghana Health Service, and then the Red Cross, Ambulance Service. All of us are supposed to come out with 2 years plan. What we want to do within the 2 years to help reduce deaths and injuries. And I must say that it's not just coming out of the plan, but there should be an associated budget, because the last decade, that was the shortcoming. We came out with good plans, but the problem was to do with funding. Not only us as an institution, but all our other stakeholders also complained about funding. So we hope that with this new decade, to be dedicated to road safety agencies, not road safety authority as an institution, but all the agencies that have something to do with safety, so that we will be seen as a country that is serious about this menace and then this carnage on our roads. If we would invest in road safety, I think that will help reduce the deaths and injuries on our roads.
I am interested in the investment in road safety. So let's look at 2020, for instance. You became an authority in 2019. Now, in 2020, for instance, when you presented your budget, how much of that budget was given to you? How much did you present? Did you get everything you needed to enable you embark on your programs and projects for 2020?
No, we couldn't get all our budgets for 2020. Probably, I don't know, but probably COVID was one of the issues that reduced because we get our money from the road fund. And I know the road fund could not get all what they also budgeted for. So probably that could have been the issue. However, if, like I said, as a nation, probably let's take 2021. If now COVID is, should I say, a thing of the past, or we think that for 3 months, 771 people have died in Ghana. And for 1 year, coronavirus, we had about 730 something dying. Then we should know that just as we're pumping money into this coronavirus or to ensure that the pandemic goes down, then we should also look at road safety and ensure that the passion that we had as a nation to ensure that the pandemic does not spread and that we reduce deaths through the coronavirus or COVID-19, that's enthusiasm to go to safety, so that all the budget that we have asked for, I don't think even the budget that we have presented, it's something that is beyond. We did it within a imaginable budget, so that at least we know we can get it to do.
How much did you present? How much did you present?
We presented about 30 million, but there's a capping at finance because I think there's something, there's a policy to that. So we are supposed to get around 24 million Ghana cedis for 2021.
And so far, you know how much has been released to you?
We would use that money for our activities in regions and also at the national level.
Great. But talking about your activities, I'll come back to issues of how much you've received. So, but talking about your activities, you told us about how, you know, the long-term plan between 2021 to 2030. You're coming out with strategies and a consultant is working on it. You went for that UN meeting in 2020, but this is 2021 April, and a consultant is working on it. When is the consultant going to finish? Are we not late in the day?
No, we are not. You remember last year it didn't really work because of the COVID. A lot of things happened last year. And so this project was awarded latter part of last year. And it is a project that he has to go and evaluate the decade and then come out with the program for the strategy for the next decade. So he's done that for the evaluation, and then he's on the second part, which is the coming out with a new strategy where we will then come out with our plans for a new decade. So he's on point.
Talking about evaluation, now when the UN met last year, you evaluated, you know, the 2011 to 2020 program, right? So that evaluation that you did, have you made that available to the consultant?
It's the same person. I said it's a dual work that the person is doing. He's the same person doing the evaluation, and then he comes out of the evaluation, he comes with a new strategy for the next decade. So it's the same person. It's one project.
Okay, because I thought, I mean, you said that part of the major problem we faced in implementing the 2011 to 2020 plan was the unavailability of funds. But apart from that, based on your initial evaluation, what other things worked against us so we could look into the future and find out what we intend to do?
Well, you know, like I said, we had plans that were sliced out for 2 years, every 2 years. And we used to meet every quarter, that is the major stakeholders, to see how far we were going. And one of the contributing factors that really came out was discipline. users in all aspects of our work, every aspect of our work, indiscipline. So it is a major issue. When I say indiscipline, then I'm talking about the human factor, because and it shows really that what internationally has been known as the human factor causing about 90% or contributing about 90% to speed, use of mobile phones, people doing the wrong thing, maybe inattentiveness, and then fatigue, even what have you, all those things, and not only with the driver, but even when we come to design of roads, and then the work on the road, maintenance of roads, we saw that the maintenance schedules were not going as we wanted, or see a road that has been completed, but you can see that the quality, I mean, within a few years, there are potholes, and then we are not maintaining those roads. And then we come to our vehicles, people going on our roads using unworthy vehicles, when even though they know that they are not supposed to use. So the human factor played a lot in what we saw as a contributing factor to the crashes on our roads.
Talking about the human factor, and also talking about, you've talked about road constructions and all of that. Now, as part of your mandate, you're expected to establish with the Road Authority procedures for safety audit of projects for roads construction, reconstruction, or improvement. Have you been engaging these agencies, and what's been the outcome of those engagements?
Okay, thank you. With the act that came out at 993, we're supposed to have an LI which will operationalize the act. And that is, in fact, even during the COVID period, because of Zoom, virtual, we tried to meet virtually to start some work. We went far. We submitted it to Attorney General. They brought their comments a lot. We've sat with our agencies, discussed there are certain things the road agencies thought it's not possible to be done, or we need to review it. We sat down with them. We've reviewed what the Attorney General brought, and then we've sent it back through our ministry to the Attorney General, and then it's going to Parliament. So I'm sure when Parliament comes back, our LI would be there. So that is how we're going to operationalize it. So we've put in all these measures that we'll use to ensure that if it's auditing, the procedures that we'll use, we are, even if we cannot do the auditing ourselves and we need to get a consultant to do it on our behalf, or they do it and then we have to review. All this have been catered for in the LI that is coming. So we've had some engagement with our stakeholders.
Well, the economists would normally say a problem well defined is half solved. And over the period, we have known that human factor contributes up to 90% of the accidents. Now, ever since we knew this, the number of road accidents have not been reducing. In fact, by 2017, it reduced. However, in 2018, 2019, 2020, it kept increasing. What have we done over the period since we are aware that human factor contributes about 90% of road crashes?
Okay, so rightly said, this is something that is known internationally, and therefore we as an institution have worked hard to help address this issue. And so road safety education, something that was one of our main mandates when we were a commission. We go to the terminals to engage the drivers. We go to churches, mosques. We also have road safety education for schools. In fact, road safety now has been included a curriculum for schools. And we have 2 books that we have come up with for the basic and also the junior high. And so they have books which we have come up with the help of government, Danida. And so they have something they can use to teach road safety. We try to go to the various media houses also to engage the general public on safety. In fact, anywhere that we get a group of people that we can send the message to, we have been doing that. Also, one of the issues that we have, I think, have also contributed to this problem, and which still we have not really solved, is the motorcycle influx of our motorcycles and tricycles into our nation. In fact, in the year probably around 2010, 2009, thereabout, when we saw motorcycles increasing in our nation, we as an institution drew the attention of government to this issue. We even had to do a study to find out what was happening. And the recommendation, one of it was that we have to look at our public transport system. If we do not improve the public transport system, this will overtake us, because people want to go to places and not stay stuck in congestion traffic. And so we needed to do some. So you remember that the Ayalolo and others came up, but I don't think it has been able to resolve the issue. Because even now, Ayalolo in Accra is not really working. And also, when you go to the hinterlands, the villages, the roads are so bad, taxis will not go. Maybe the Benz buses, etc., will go once a day. And therefore, the only means of transport that these people could use now is the tricycle and then the motorcycle. And the issue is that they are not trained. They have not been trained. Just as we have in Ghana, we have the training, the driver training schools for novice drivers, but we do not have any for these motorcycles. So anybody takes a motorcycle, and then the next minute it's on it riding. And so also has been, we've tried over the years to have a collaboration between ourselves and then DVLA and the police. So anytime that they go to DVLA for their licenses, that is where we give them through some training. But I must say it was not enough. Just about 2 hours or so training was not enough. Okay. But that's what we have been doing over the years to help remove that kind of danger. But we have seen that now the numbers are overwhelming. The number of motorcycles and then the tricycles in our nation, I think, are even getting more than the vehicles that we have in Ghana. And therefore, the numbers are increasing. The crashes also are increasing. If you look at the 771 people who died, 100 of them died through motorcycle or tricycle.
Yes, but so, Engineer Obriabua, these persons that the motorcycles and tricycles, they're engaged in an illegality. I mean, the law is very clear. They cannot be used for picking passengers. But that is exactly what is happening. We see the tricycles all over the place. I mean, I've been to Ho, I see them in Ho all the time. I see them around Abokubi all the time. I've seen them in northern part of the country. Now, they are not supposed to be picking passengers. So why are we standing down? I mean, why are we standing there watching them do the wrong thing and then say they are contributing to accidents when we should be enforcing laws?
Yes, so that is it. We are supposed to enforce the law.
But we're not enforcing the laws.
The law that they don't use it for passenger, commercial passenger, take fares from them. But there are a couple of issues, and I think the nation, we need to address it. Last year, was it last year or last 2 years? I think last year, from 2019 to 2020, before COVID came and there was a lockdown, etc. We went around the 16 regions, bringing up this issue. I don't know whether you never came to any of our forums, but came to the press, the media, and we presented what was happening in our nation, because there were two school of thoughts. One thought was that we should maintain what is in the law and not allow them to operate, and the police should enforce the law. Police have their own issues anyway in enforcing the law. One, they claim that sometimes they go and take motorcycles, etc., and then they are there and they are given the command to release them. So if I go and I arrest them and later they ask me to release them, then it means that it's a work in future. That is future. Then two, even trying to, I said, we know that if you go to the French-speaking countries, they are obeying the rules. They are not, over there, I think they use it for that at traffic signals or intersections, they stop when it's red for vehicles to stop. But in Ghana, you wouldn't stop. Why are the police not enforcing the law and ensuring that people, they stop? We met the motorists, tried to educate them and tell them to do that. One of the things that came out, they said when they stop, the police will come for their keys and harass them. And we said, if you don't have nothing, if you stop, you are picking a passenger, why would the police arrest you? You have your helmet on. So it's something that we I don't know whether it's the indiscipline, should I say. Okay. It's still the indiscipline on our roads. And the police will have to, the other school of thought is that, well, now we have the motorcycles in that, and we should not behave like the ostrich, as if we have not seen. Why don't you legalize and regulate them? That is the other school of thought. We've gone to Rwanda to see what Rwanda is doing, and we've come back. But if you remember, I think just before the elections, there was these two schools of thought coming up by the two political parties. But with the present government, they want the law to go as it is. So the police are supposed to enforce the law.
And is that something you agree?
That not use it for commercial purpose. And the police also are also asking that if we want them to do their work, to enforce the law so that nobody comes back and say release these people when they have been apprehended. Okay,
we'll come back and talk about other issues. You've talked about the need for refresher courses, but I know there's a National Drivers Academy. How are you liaising with the National Drivers Academy to give these refresher courses that you also talk about, but and also look at evaluation of the programs you put in place? Yes, going to bus terminals and educating drivers is one thing, but how do you evaluate it to ensure that the right things are done? This is Upfront on the JoyNews channel. I'm Winston. I want to stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back from that short break, and thank you very much for staying with us here on Upfront on the JoyNews channel, where tonight our focus is on resolving the perpetual menace of road crashes. And Engineer May Obriabwa, who's the Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, is our guest. We're talking about dealing with other agencies. And Engineer Obriabwa, so you've talked about drivers, some not being qualified, but we know of the National Drivers Academy. In the past, there's been talk of having refresher programs. How have you been liaising with them, engaging them in achieving this particular objective?
Okay, so by law, the driver unions are supposed to ensure that their drivers are trained or retrained every 2 years. So it's their responsibility to ensure that the drivers that they have are retrained. But as an institution, it is our interest to ensure that this is also done. And so we collaborate with them, and then the National Drivers Academy, they are available for the retraining. But if you would remember, I think 2019, we had some funds from government, and that money was used to train, I think, 13,000 drivers who apply high-risk roads, like the Marcy, and then from Aflawe all the way to Elubo. Those very high-risk roads, we went around the country, trained them, government provided funds for that, and we trained them. But we have told them that it's their responsibility. We are there to facilitate and to ensure that that training is done. In fact, if you remember, just a few weeks ago, we issued some directives, and one of it was to ensure that they start mandatory training for their drivers, and which some of them have already shown that they are collaborating with the National Drivers Academy to ensure that that training program is done for their drivers. So there's a lot of collaboration, but we would, DVLA is also supposed to ensure that if any driver goes to them for them to update their licenses or whatever, renew their license, they are supposed to inspect to ensure that they will show evidence that they've had some training over the period.
Okay. Now, you talked about how you've been going to bus terminals, how you've been engaging in education programs. Now, one of your mandates is to evaluate, apart from coordinating and monitoring, is also to evaluate road safety activities, programs, and strategies. One of your strategies has been educating these persons these drivers through visitations to their bus terminals and using the media platforms that are made available to you. Based on your own evaluation, has this education that you've been embarking on worked in dealing with the ever-increasing road accidents?
Okay. The evaluation of our programs, yes, we have a department that is solely monitoring evaluation. So that is the work they do as a department. And we do the evaluation of our programs. Yes, I think one of the programs that we did and the issues that came out made us even do a research to see the type of training or education that we should give to our drivers. And that has helped us to review some of the contents of the educational materials that we used to have. And also whether to use vernacular in certain areas, because we saw that there are certain areas, if we continue to use English, we were not going to, through the evaluation, we saw that it was not having impact. So there are certain areas we needed also to use vernacular so that people understand it better. And I think that is one of the areas also that helped DVLA. So now with to get the license even, they are also trying to put some of the things in the one they use the training, the laptops and those things to use. They use vernacular on some of these things. Okay. The computer one.
The computer exam, yes, the exams that you have to write.
The evaluation has made us know that there are certain things that we may have to vary a bit. Okay. If you, I think some years ago, we did an evaluation, and one of the impacts was that those have a very, very, very big ones sometimes, or no, the very small ones, it was not having a good impact because people were speeding and they were not able to read those small billboards. So we should rather do some big billboards as have strategic points. So that's something that came out of one of the evaluations. So the knowledge of what we are doing and how we can vary what we are doing.
Now, that particular point raises a very important question. So the exam at DVLA, which I have written, is in English. Now, these persons you are educating, you educate them, some of them, in our local languages. Let me put it that way. So
Yes.
how did they get the license? And how did they pass the exam, which they're supposed to be writing in English language? Aren't you concerned about that?
Well, that is why I'm saying that we are all worried about some of the outcomes of these licenses, how people take their licenses. And through the study or the evaluation that we did, it came out that, yes, some people would have to be taught in the vernacular and then explained. And we on our side sometimes thought that, well, the new vehicles that are coming are a bit sophisticated, and probably people should have a little knowledge. You'll find out that in the law, it says a minimum of, I think, junior high basic, a minimum of basic. So at least you can read and write. But at least if the person wants to do the exam in vernacular, they've made it possible for the person to do it. So it's a source of worry. If people have obtained their license in the past, whilst they could not read and write, and yet had the license, I think it's something that is of worry.
Shouldn't that just tell you? Yes. Shouldn't that just tell you that those persons actually used the wrong processes, and thus may not be qualified to be on our roads? Doesn't that just tell you? Because this is somebody.
No, it could be possible. I will not say that we don't have people who do not qualify on our. There are some like that do not qualify now. And apart from that, let me say that it's not just a person who has not gone to school that probably does not qualify. Somebody would have gone to school, is putting on his jacket. Meanwhile, he's doing the wrong thing.
Sure, that's
and
true.
So his license, even though maybe he's passed his exam, will have to be taken from him because he's doing the wrong thing. So it's not just the person who has not gone to school, but even those of us who have gone to school but are doing the wrong thing on the road, we also deserve to have our licenses taken from us.
Great. Talking about taking away licenses, in other jurisdictions, when you're engaged in, when your vehicle is engaged in accidents, investigations are carried out, and when it is realized that it's your fault, based on the kind of accident you're engaged in, you're either told, you're banned from driving for a year, 2 years, and in some instances, you're perpetually banned. You're banned from driving forever. Now, let's look at our own system. What plans do we have in ensuring that those who engage in accidents and through investigations we realize they are not qualified to be on the roads, do not get back on the roads?
Yes, I think as a nation, by law also, there's something like that where DVLA can cancel your license. Even the court also can take it from you.
Sure.
So it's not like we don't have anything like that. But it's the point system that I think we last year we wanted to review the LI 2180. One of the things that will become getting a number of points, the license is taken out from you, just like we see in other countries. So it's something that as a nation we also want to go in that direction.
And how soon are we going to go in that direction?
Well, this is a policy thing. It goes through our ministry and then goes back to Parliament. So I think the Ministry of Transport is working on the LI 2180 review, the 2180, which was passed in 2012. I think there's a few things that need to be reviewed over the 8 to 9 years that we have used it. And so we've worked on it, and I'm sure our ministry will forward it to Parliament for review. So that's one of the things that is being reviewed.
Well, but listening to you, a lot of the things we want to do seem to be moving slowly, and that raises concerns about our commitment towards road safety. Engineer Obriabo, are we really committed? Because a lot of the things we're expected to do, we're working on this, it has to go through, it has to go through that. We say, what you prioritize, you do immediately.
Please, we don't work that way. We are the same people, we will do it, and then you come back pointing fingers at us and saying that which law permits you to do that. So please, we have to go through the proper channel.
Yes, but we're going through the proper channel. Yes,
we cannot sit in our offices and then pass new laws and then go implementing. It has to go through Parliament and then we implement it.
Exactly. Nobody expects you to sit in your office and pass laws. But while everybody expects you to actually go according to the law can also go through a fast process until it gets to Parliament. And in the case of your LI, you wait for 21 sitting days. Getting to Parliament is the most important thing. But if we delay in it getting to Parliament, then we're delaying the process. So it is not you operating without laws, but it is making sure that the laws actually get to where it is supposed to be early for it to be passed. You'd agree with me?
I do agree with you. And whatever we want to change in the law, we have to engage our stakeholders. We do not sit just us and then law comes and then our stakeholders are taken by surprise. We need to do engagement. So we do engagement, and that would also take some time. I told you we had a very bad year last year. So a lot of engagements could not go on. And so we are trying to get out of that era. And so, like I said, this has gone, at least it has left our institution and it's gone to the ministry. I'm sure by now it has gone to it has to go to the Attorney General before it goes to Parliament. So I'm sure this year we'll see these new laws coming out.
Great. Finally, you've talked about the human factor. Many Ghanaians have been concerned about our attitudes. I want us to end on this note. What do we intend to do in ensuring that we deal with the attitude of the Ghanaian road user?
Okay. When you talk about the attitude, you see, I just gave a little laugh because the attitude is through, I mean, our whole life as a nation. If you come to, I'm holding a tissue. I could use this tissue and anywhere I get, I just drop it. It's an attitude. You see people, we are all in a queue, we are driving. Then people will just leave the queue and then move on the shoulders. And you ask yourself, because we have done a lot of sensitization, education for people to know the value of their lives. So the question is, do Ghanaians not value their lives? I keep asking myself, because we are doing as a nation, we need to take some drastic, I don't know, but the attitude has to change in all aspects of our life. And this includes also on our roads. Let us go by what the laws say. We should not wait for the policeman or the road safety man to be there before we do the right thing. Why do you still use the mobile phone when you know that by law you're not supposed to do that? We cannot be everywhere. So as individuals, we should tell ourselves that we should police ourselves and ensure that we do the right thing, because we need to be alive to go back home to see our families. So you remember, we've just had this Arrive Alive campaign the past few months ago, trying to get people to appreciate the need to stop certain attitudes. Go on your motorbike with your crash helmet on. Sit in a vehicle with your seatbelt on. Drive your car without the use of the mobile phone. If you want to use a mobile phone, park and then receive the call. We've said all of this, but still there are still some people who would not want to go by it, and the law will have to take its course.
Exactly. And, we have to enforce the laws then.
To the stage also that if you are caught by the law, especially when the police are now coming to be automated, then that issue about the human factor, where the policeman will see you and you can give the policeman something, will be a thing of the past, because it now be automated. Your vehicle number will be taken, and then whatever sanctions that you have to get will be sanctioned. So we, as Ghanaians, should prepare for that.
Great.
And when it happens, we don't want people coming out to obey. We don't want it. Please, we want you in the media to support us.
Okay.
Support us.
All right.
Support us.
Thank you very much, Engineer Meobi Awad, who is Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, for joining us this evening on Upfront on the JoyNews channel. My name is Winston Amwa. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you catch us same time tomorrow for another exciting edition. Stay with us. Keep watching the JoyNews channel. Have a lovely evening.